What's going on, YouTube? JT's Reborn here. Welcome to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. For those of you following the channel, if you know, I've been covering all the Teen Titans books since basically issue 20, and they announced right at the end of issue 27 that there was going to be the big crossover with the Deathstroke comic books known as the Terminus Agenda, and this is the beginning of that crossover. You know, lightly, it's the prologue, and it really doesn't have much to do with it. I mean, the Teen Titans stuff is barely in this issue. It's more about wrapping up the previous Deathstroke arc and just briefly, very briefly setting up the next thing. This is the prologue from Deathstroke issue number 41 of the Terminus Agenda. So let's get started in talking about this issue. Now, this issue was written by Christopher Priest. Now, Christopher Priest is very interesting when it comes to comic book writing. He writes his storylines different than pretty much any other comic book out there. He has his own unique style, which is interesting, and I know a lot of fans really like his writing style. It's very non-linear. Things kind of jump back and forth. You really have to pay attention to every single detail if you want to follow his storylines, because if you don't, you're going to be lost rather quickly. And for the most part, I've enjoyed his Deathstroke run. I own all the issues. Pretty much them all digitally. I didn't really like the Batman vs. Deathstroke arc. I feel like that could have been wrapped up in one issue if Slade would have just came right out and said, I had a vasectomy, Batman. I can't have kids. Here's the proof. Batman, do your DNA test. There's your proof. One issue, done. Bada boom, bada bing. It was just kind of a mess of a storyline. I didn't really like it. But after that, they had the Deathstroke Arkham thing. And then that was okay. Some of the early stuff I liked. I liked the Defiance arc. And I'm trying to remember some of the other stuff. But yeah, so with Christopher Priest, when you read one of his storylines, you have to pay attention to kind of everything. If you read it once a month, and see, a lot of books I just read once and then I kind of just put them down. But with the Christopher Priest Deathstroke book, you kind of have to read them like back to back again and again, or you have to read them all simultaneously. Because if you read this thing once, set it down, come back to the next issue next month, and if you're reading a bunch of other books like I am, you're going to be lost if you're not really paying attention to all the details. And that's kind of the thing with his run for the most part. Like, they have callbacks to issue like 3 years or something like this, 20 issues ago. I'm like, I don't remember that. I've been reading I have like hundreds of comic books that I read. I can't keep up with everything. Not necessarily the writer's fault, because, you know, he wrote the whole storyline. They expect you to kind of read everything. But if you're just somebody who just has trouble keeping up, you just have to pay very close attention to all the little details with this stuff. But yeah, so let's talk about the Terminus Agenda. So let's read the synopsis. A prelude to the Terminus Agenda. The road to the highly anticipated Teen Titans Deathstroke crossover event starts here. Deathstroke's body count has grown even higher after murdering the therapist en route to escaping Arkham Asylum, which prompts Commissioner Gordon to expose Slade's identity as Deathstroke to the public. Now the world's most wanted criminal. The walls are closing on Slade Wilson, and a new threat. Damian Wayne's newest Teen Titans are around the corner. Is there any hope of escape for the world's deadliest assassin? So, yes, this is right after that Deathstroke arc, which was in the prison, which, like I said, if it's Christopher Priest's book, it's kind of hard to follow a lot. A lot of it's good, though, but it's just tough to follow. And you'll kind of see if you look at these panels. So yeah, we got the Deathstroke Terminus Agenda right here. We got the prelude here, 28, 42, 29, 43, and then the epilogue. Now, I've read some of the solicitations, if you will, and I'm getting kind of nervous, hopefully for the best. Hopefully things don't get screwed up too much, but we'll see what they do with Damian's character. Slade Wilson. No, I like some of the variants, though. But yeah, so this issue starts right off. Deathstroke is like the most wanted man in the world. His face is plastered all over Gotham, and he faces off against Electrocutioner for whatever reason, presumed innocent. He takes a contract. We got Billy Wintergreen and Commissioner Gordon conversing with one another. Slade's got his icon suit, or as I like to call it, his plot armor, because it pretty much just can take anything. It's basically like Black Panther. Have you seen the Black Panther movie? He's got that little suit that absorbs kinetic energy. Now, Christopher Priest, from what I can tell, from what I've heard, wrote a significant amount of Black Panther, so he's carrying over a lot of themes from that into this one. And, yeah, so the stuff I liked in this issue, I liked the conversations between Commissioner Gordon and Billy Wintergreen. I thought those were pretty good, where they talk about, is killing is not morally right. They think they're all going to hell. I think Christopher Priest does a good job with the old mentors, because even in the Batman Deathstroke stuff, I really like the conversations between Wintergreen and Alfred Pennyworth. I think that's where the strength comes in with a lot of his writing. And yeah, so a lot of stuff kind of happens. Like if you watch this, like for instance, we're only human Colonel. We all have needs. God, it's tough to review a Deathstroke book because they're so all over the place. Probably should have written down some notes. But yes, so Slade goes there. Rose Wilson comes back and meets Slade, who is just breaking into her apartment. I like Rose Wilson. I think she's a pretty badass character. But yes, apparently Slade took some contract of killing an old lady, strangled her. But what I can gather, or sort of trying to gather, I mean, the book jumps around quite a bit, is that the other put this contract out there. Slade took it, and without any real hesitation as to why, I guess the other was doing it as a test, because this person apparently was kind of just a nobody that they put a hit on. Then Slade goes to this, like the ship right here, and he meets up with this dude. He takes Rose as a date for whatever reason. She's trying to be his date? I don't know. I mean, Slade's a ladies' man. I mean, well, not really. Yeah, he kind of gets around a lot. I mean, he's just this, jacked super soldier dude, so he can pick up some chicks quite a bit. I saw earlier on he was sleeping with Talia al Ghul in the run. I guess Talia sleeps with everybody pretty much. And then he was with, obviously, Adeline, his crazy psycho wife. Slade's just a really interesting character, though. Like, he's got a really fucked up backstory and really screwed up family life. So, yeah, Slade goes up against the electrocutioner at some point in the issue. They talk about the other at some point. So, I guess the other set this whole thing up so to get Slade out into the open, to get Robin and the Teen Titans on his trail. I really, really don't know, unless he's trying to pit the Titans against the other, or against Slade, so he can take him out, because, Teen Titans and Slade, they go together. Slade's pretty much the main rival of the Teen Titans. He's been that way since the Marv Wolfman run. Everybody knows Slade's a primary enemy of the Titans. It's just you watch the Teen Titans show, you watch the animated movies. I guess Slade's going to be showing up in Titans Season 2, which I can't wait for, because Deathstroke is one of my all-time favorite villains, anti-heroes. He was on Arrow, and he was done excellently, played by Manu Bennett. Slade's just a really fascinating character, and yeah, so I'm guessing somebody wanted to know for sure you'll fulfill your contract, blah, 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 blah. Someone named the Other. They mentioned the Other a couple times in this book, and like I said, I read this thing like 3 or 4 times. I still can't figure out all that's going on in this thing. I'm like, did I miss something in the previous book? They talk, even Jim Gordon and Billy Wintergreen reference the Other at some point. And the book basically ends as kind of a setup to the Terminus Agenda with Joseph Wilson talking to Damian Wayne, who really doesn't want anything to do with this pop. And then Damian's like, you're on Deathstroke's side. He's like, hell no, trust me, you're better off with letting this go. Damian Wayne's not going to let this go, because he's like, Deathstroke's done enough harm to everyone. It's time that we take him down once and for all. I'm going to put him in my prison. I'm going to keep him away from everything. Because Damian has been manipulated by Slade quite a bit. You can read earlier on in the books. You could read the Deathstroke runs. Slade has had an impact on Damian's life. Slade has had an impact on all the Robins' lives. Dick Grayson, I think he's had some stuff with Jason Todd. I don't know. Deathstroke is just one of those characters who, when you're Robin and you've got to go up against Deathstroke, a lot of bad stuff tends to happen, or you got to deal with some serious shit. And Damian's kind of been dealing with that. He had to deal with the fact that he was potentially Slade's biological son, which was a mess of a storyline. I'm sorry, Christopher Priest, but it should have been over in like 1 or 2 issues. It just dragged on for 6 months, and it's just all over the place. Really tough to follow. But yeah, so Joseph Wilson sets this thing up. He's just like, there's no one talking you out of it. I do know a place. So he's going to work together with Damian to take down Slade once and for all. Damian's just got his little headphones in there. He looks manipulative. His face is a lot different from the Teen Titans artwork. So yes, Damian's going to go toe-to-toe with Slade. We'll see where that goes from here. Yeah, that's in essence the book. I'm sorry this isn't one of the best reviews. Like I said, when you're reviewing a Christopher Reese Deathstroke book, it's tough to follow. I know I've been repeating myself time and time again, but just getting all the little plot details, intricacies. I don't exactly know what the Other is planning. The book's non-linear, so it's kind of all over the place. But overall, this issue I thought was okay. I wasn't really engaged all the way through because I had trouble following it, as I've stated several times. I have no idea what's going to happen with this Terminus Agenda storyline. I don't know how Joseph Wilson's going to tie in. I don't know if the book's going to be written like a Christopher Priest book, or it's going to be written like in the vein of an Adam Glass book, since they're co-writing it together. I have no idea how this thing's going to turn out. So we're about to see a mix mash of styles going into this next arc. I heard rumblings. I remember seeing like a panel a while back. It was Dan DiDio, it was Adam Glass, and it was Christopher Priest. And I think something along the lines of like Deathstroke 43 was supposed to be the end of Christopher Priest's Deathstroke run. And I'm wondering if they're going to actually try and have Damian kill Slade Wilson, which would be a terrible, terrible move to go for, because, well, that just completely negates years of character development, and it makes me wonder, like, what the hell they're doing with that character. Are you just going to neglect it all? Are you just going to shit all over it? I have no fucking clue. So I get nervous when I see the Christopher Priest and the Damian stuff, because we had the Lazarus contract, which made him look really, really bad, which, although there were some funny moments, it wasn't the worst. We had the Batman Deathstroke run last year. So 2017 Lazarus, 2018 we had the Batman Deathstroke thing, which, you know, I even made a video. That's kind of what got me into reviewing some of the comics initially, because I read the synopsis, or the solicitation, and I just went, what? And then, therefore, I went and actually read the Deathstroke run, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this? I just thought that was not a good idea. Then I just took a breather from Deathstroke for a while, and then I'm like, okay, we're getting close to the Terminus Agenda. I better go ahead and pick up every other issue and read those in time for this to see how this ties together to the Teen Titans thing. So far, it really only ties in with a few references to the other. I'm not sure how he's going to play a factor in. I'm not sure if Rose Wilson's going to really play a big factor in this thing, too. I mean, or what about Joseph Wilson? It's all up in the air. Is Rose going to go toe-to-toe with the Teen Titans on Slade's side, or is she going to help bring her dad in? I don't know. They have a really messed up relationship between her and her father. Like, the whole Slade family is really just kind of all over the face, because Grant's dead. Joseph is a mute. He had his throat slit, and he's had marital problems, and Rose is just... she's kind of all over the place herself, too. Fascinating characters, but a very messed up life. So, I don't know how it's going to all tie in, but I am looking forward to the Teen Titans issue. I think it won't be this non-linear, like Christopher Priest style, because you got Adam Glass coming in here. I'm very curious to see how their styles will mix together, but it's kind of all up in the air. Like I said, this thing doesn't do too much of a job setting up that crossover. It's kind of just a few references to the other and something briefly at the end. You almost really didn't need to call this a prologue, because it's not doing much to set up that story, at least from what I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a lot of key important details in this book that set up the rest of the crossover, but we'll see where it goes from here. I mean, I like my stories a little bit more linear, so Christopher Priest style doesn't always translate well to me, and I think to a lot of readers. But I know a lot of readers that really, really like it and like all the callbacks. They like finding little pieces. It's kind of like solving a puzzle. Things are kind of just like, okay, here's your storyline. Let me just kind of like mismatch it all over the place, and then we'll come to a conclusion, which, you know, is different. It's unique, and I give them props for that. But it's not always for everyone, and sometimes for me it just doesn't work, but other times it does. So I guess I'm kind of mixed on the guy, but still positive in some ways. But we'll still call out some stuff I don't like. Okay, this review is getting out of hand. But bottom line, Deathstroke 41, you don't necessarily need to read this to get into the next crossover. I mean, if you want to, I guess it helps a little bit to see where Slade was, and like that Damian's going to be working with Joseph Wilson. But we'll see where it goes from here. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. Be sure to come back to the next comic book review, which is Teen Titans 28. We'll be talking about the Terminus Agenda, the real part 1 to it, as you can see right here. Teen Titans 28, then we got Deathstroke 42 in April, and then we have Teen Titans 29. So, and then we have Deathstroke 43, which is supposedly the final chapter in this Deathstroke run. I don't get why they don't just go to issue 50. I feel like 50 is a good solid number to end it on. But I guess this is really how they want to end it all. So it's going to be either very good and well received like the Lazarus contract was, or it's going to be really bad and like, not the Lazarus contract, the Judas contract. It's going to be either well received like the Judas contract was, or very kind of divisive like the Lazarus contract was. I think a lot of fans just came away with that thing like, are you really shitting on Wally again? Why did Damian do something like this? I don't know. We'll see where it all goes from here, but I am curious. I am curious to see this Terminus Agenda. That is kind of a cool title, though, the Terminus Agenda. It sounds badass. Like I said, with the Teen Titans run and some of my other books, it feels like they're trying to recreate the the Wolfman and Perez type run. This is supposed to be their equivalent to the Judas contract with this Terminus Agenda. They got the big crossover. They got Deathstroke involved still. Other callbacks too with some of the characters. They're trying to introduce the 3 new characters like they did in the Wolfman Perez run. Robin's got his sort of Starfire and Jin going on here with the way her character is behaving, although a bit with Raven's backstory kind of. You got your Archers, you got your Beast Boy type of the group, you got your Kid Flash still, and you got Crush, who's just kind of there. So we'll see where it goes from there. I'm very interested, but yeah. 6-part crossover event coming soon. Teen Titans 28 review. So look forward to that, everyone, and I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the issue down below. I know I didn't do the best of job really explaining this thing, and I just reread it again beforehand, but sometimes when you get on camera, you lose your train of thought trying to gather everything up. But yeah, Christopher Priest Deathstroke run. I think it's worth checking out. I read all the issues. You may like it, you may dislike it. I don't know. I'm very curious to see the responses to this video, because for the most part I've gotten some pretty good responses in the Teen Titans reviews. But now that I'm talking Deathstroke, I'm going into uncharted territory, if you will. We'll see where it happens. But, alright. Check it out. Deathstroke 41. And that's all I gotta say. Take care now. Bye-bye then.